In this video, we're going to see how we can manage our lights inside our 3ds Max scene. I have a simple scene with a simple spotlight over here, and the intensity of that is 0.8 and a simple color. I also have an Omni light with a 0.2 intensity or multiplier and a color. The first thing I'm going to show you is your light lister that can be found under Tools, Light Lister. This is a very handy little window where it allows you to control a whole bunch of settings for your lights. Either all the lights, that's what I have, but if you had a light selected, then you can just show selected lights. Make sure you name your lights. Right now mine is, one of them is named, one of them isn't. So you can have your multiplier being controlled from here, your decay if you have any being controlled from here. I can also go to general settings and it shows me a whole bunch of other things. And again, this is only for selected lights, or I can say all lights right now. So if I go back to all lights, I can also have right here, this might be using, if I turn the shadow on, it will be using the shadow map, in this case the ray trace shadow, but right now they haven't been turned on. Also the sample range and the bias for the shadows, so, and also where the decay is going to start. So nice little handy window to control all your lights in the scene. The next thing we're going to see is include exclude tool, which is very handy again. So light in 3D will cast on anything and everything that's in the scene, unless you tell it to cast illumination and shadows and everything on a particular object or objects. So that can be controlled very easily. So right now my Omni light over here is going on the entire scene, and if I render it, this is what it looks like. So if I go with my Omni light selected, if I click on this, and if I go to the exclude button right here, you can see that this light is illuminating everything right now, but I only want it to be illuminating the ground. So if I go to ground and not the other objects, and if I put this ground in this window, and right now it's excluding the ground, so I want it to only include the ground. So I'll just do that, and include from illumination, shadow casting, or both. So I'll just leave it at both right now. So my light Omni, the Omni light, is only including the ground. That's what I'm telling it to do. I'll say OK, and let's render this again. And I had the wrong view selected, so I'll select my camera view. And let's also increase the intensity of the light just to show that it actually did what we are telling it to do. So right now, you can see the ground is really high. It's really lit up. And if I take this down to, let's say, about 0.2 again, you can see my objects are still the same. Nothing happened to them. It's only the ground that's being controlled by the Omni light. So that's your include and exclude right there, and you can do also exclude the same way. So I can select this one, and I can even say don't include the ground, so that way exclude the ground. So if I render this now, you will see the ground is not even being lit by my spotlight. But in this case, I really want it from the spotlight as well, because I want to cast some shadows. So I'll go back and put it over there. As far as shadows, let's go to the spotlight and let's turn on shadow map. There's a whole bunch of shadows. Let's just look at shadow map right now. Turn it on, and I have my shadow map parameters over here. So if I simply render this, let's turn on shadows. I forgot to do that. There you go. That's my shadows right there, my shadow map. And my shadow map parameters, my size is very important of the shadow. So if I take the size down to like 50, let's say, instead of 512, you can see it's very fuzzy and almost jagged in some places. So this size of the shadow map, they're also known as depth map shadows in some of the softwares, is very important. So if I turn this up to, let's say, 1024, you'll see it's kind of giving us a very crisp shadow. So at this point, I might as well use what is called a ray trace shadow, which is a very realistic shadow. So if I go to ray trace, again, I've got a parameter, and anywhere you see a bias, it's how the shadow moves away from the object. So if I just do ray trace shadow, very realistic shadows, highly recommend using those. So that's your shadow map and ray trace shadows.